How did you wake up? And if you've already woken up, how is your day going on? Mine is fine, and I am making porridge for breakfast and also to have during the day. Yeah. It's not very early in the morning. No, I'm not. What should I do here? I'm going to do this. Yeah. We've just come from the shopping center. I have to open the windows. I can smell the guavas. You see this? There are insects on the guava tree because birds have been eating some of them, and when they eat them, they leave holes. They poke holes into the guavas so that the guavas start attracting. No, these are not from the guavas. Oh, these are from a rotting mango. I was wondering because there are many. Yeah, but I can smell, whenever I open the window, I can smell the guavas. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put on my boots because it's very watery and the grass is long near the guava tree. Then I'm going to go out and pick all the big guavas because the type that I have, or is it all guavas? They are ripe even when they are green. So you can't rely on them turning yellow so that you know they are ripe. By the time they turn yellow, they are overly ripe. I don't know whether I should do that while the water is boiling, but I'm feeling so absolutely lazy. Should I call it lazy or should I call it lethargic? I think lethargic. And part of that is because my compound, the grass is so overgrown. The grass is grown, the fence needs cutting. When I have stuff like this, it affects my bodily functions. I like to have a neat looking compound, a very neat looking compound. So now the compound is all overgrown, all bushy, and I need to get someone, and the person who I know who is so good at cleaning my compound requires money which I don't have. So I'm going to talk to him and find out if he can do it on credit, because that compound must get cleaned. The heavier it rains, the faster the grass grows. But if you control it, if I control it before it gets too wild and too high and too bushy, then as the season starts to get drier, because it hasn't rained now for, is it 3 days? Okay, the first day it just rained lightly, so for 2 days it hasn't rained at all. That means both morning and night. So I need to get the fellow, and then they come and start cleaning up the compound, and I like them to start with where I can't see, so that the entryway to the compound, so that way that compound is absolutely totally clean. And by the time they get here, they know that when they're here, I'm watching them so keenly. But I don't know whether the roadside they really should, because I know it's been so muddy. But now they're it's because it hasn't rained recently, it's been drying gradually. I want to try and fast for a week, and I haven't fasted in a very long time, and I want to prepare myself for the Catholic feast of fasting, because it's a commemorable fast that we do in preparation for Easter. And before we do that, and because I want my fasting this time, I don't want it to be just fasting from certain things. I want to do a total fast for my health. So at that time when Catholics are fasting, I want to be able to do a full fast. But right now I want to do in Kiswahili we used to say when we were young, we used to say when I'm trying something, it's trisex. Yeah, so I want to do trisex of fasting, so that I fast kujaribu, majaribu, just for trying. I fast for trying, and then I do the total. It won't be for trying. I mean, I'll do like 3 days doing a bit of fasting, probably skipping 2 meals. 2 meals, how many meals do I have in a day? Breakfast, snack, lunch, snack, supper. I went to my clinic and I'm so overweight. I don't even want to talk about it. I can't even say it here. I was so ashamed. Because I know how much that compromises my health as a person living positively with HIV. And I'm looking good, yes, but my life right now at 60. Oh, I'm turning 60. How many days is it, by the way? I haven't even checked. What's the date today? Oh, it's 12th. Okay, so I have 6 days to my birthday to turn 60, and the last thing I need right now is having health issues because of my weight. Let me have health issues because of anything else but not my weight. So I'm going to, will my birthday find me in a fast? If I break it for a day, that's fine, in case I get super treats from friends and well wishers, but especially of course my family. But yeah, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to do a trisex fast. That's a fast of I'll be doing it slowly until I can master fasting a whole day. And I don't mean the little the fasting that you just skip a few meals. That's going to be in the start, but I want to be able to do a full day fast, a 12-hour fast, 10 or 12 hours every day consistently for minimum 1 week. So in the build up to that, I'm going to start doing a trial fasting. And I know fasting alone doesn't help. So when I'm fasting, I also have to be in a positive state of mind. Shika hiyo kule tamu. Leta hiyo. Wewe unatoanga vitu wapi zile nimetupa? Bibi kwa wapi? Bibi nitai gomba na nitaipiga teke sana. Nitaichapa sana. Let me give this young fellow. Let me give him something little to bite while I prepare breakfast. I'm looking for a container. Pardon me for a minute. The sun is shining so bright outside. It's unbelievable. It's already so warm, and yet it's early in the morning, but it's not fooling us at all because I can see there's very heavy cloud cover that's slowly moving, and it's very dark clouds, so that's going to bring rains. And then yesterday I heard that in parts of, even as it didn't rain here in the last 2 days, I heard from people in upper Nairobi, what I'd call it upper Nairobi, higher altitude areas of Nairobi, that the rain was so heavy. It was so heavy that there's been an alert that Nairobi's biggest dam, Nairobi Dam, is going to overfill, and once it fills, they're giving an alert for all the people living on the downward side of it, where it bypasses as it spills out. They'll be at high risk. And this is one of the things I was talking about in one of my recent videos, that dam poses such a big risk, and it has happened since I was young. When was I young? When I was between 7 and 14 years, I lived in Langata, near where that Nairobi Dam is. It never used to be in such proportions. Of course, the city was less populated. There was more control over the waters. There was more control over the waters by virtue of the fact that the Karengata forest was still very intact, and so there wasn't a lot of water flowing out from that side. And then the periphery around the Nairobi Dam was largely uninhabited, so there was so much place for the waters to go to and get absorbed into the rain. But now part of the reason why, that's why I keep on saying Kenya has got no disaster management for storm waters, no matter what we are told. It's just trying to allay our fears because more money is going to be used, but we don't have a long-term plan that I'm looking for. Amwiko is cooking stick. When you're cooking in aluminium cooking pots, if you use metallic spoons to stir, and especially if you're cooking porridge of millet and sorghum mix, it breaks. I mean, it thins very, very easily, even when you're drinking it. But if you use wooden sticks, I don't know why that happens, but if you use a cooking stick, then it retains the thickness. So whenever you're cooking porridge that is of millet and sorghum, you must be careful to use a wooden cooking stick, and you must start stirring immediately. You pour the millet and the sorghum into the cooking pot. Any delay is going to cause slumps. It's a very technical porridge to cook. Yes, so I was saying that the reason why Nairobi Dam right now is overflooding very easily and causing mayhem in the city is because all the what? We know that trees help to hold water in the earth because they draw the rainwater and allow it, when it seeps into the ground, to be sucked up into their roots, and that's why it's so important for us in the world over to plant trees. But now in this situation in Kenya, all the water, and that's why forests are water catchment. Should I call them water catchment areas? Yeah, they are water catch. Yeah, because of that they become water catchment. Oops. They become water catchment areas, and that's why now you see the overflooding that is happening, and not only in Nairobi with the Nairobi Dam, but also the deforestation of remember when I told you that we used to travel between here and Eldoret, and Eldoret, there was a black forest, and that also has gotten trimmed, and that's why also Lake Naivasha is now rising. The more we destroy our water catchment areas, the natural reserves that we have for drawing water into the earth, so that it doesn't flow off with erosion and all that, and get into the ground, so that there's sufficient water for us to use in future, because the water that is drawn into the ground when the trees absorb it doesn't just stay there and get drunk up by the trees, so to speak. Sometimes when it reaches the rock formation under the ground, sometimes the rocks also are formed in such ways underground that some of them go upwards, and the place where they reach and the water becomes full, it creates sort of like an underground dam. Then the water starts going up, and sometimes it finds a hole in the rock, the underground rock, and that's why you see springs occurring in places where you never know, and you find that water springs become endless sources of water. Water springs are caused by that. This water that is retained by water retention areas, whether it's forests or just flat terrains that have that absorb water. The country which I admire the most, which has utilized the science of rainwater harvesting and groundwater harvesting and retention and using it to regrow, to harvest rainwater, not only to harvest rainwater but also to rechannel rain to living spaces, so that in specific areas, so that the water can be harvested. At the same time, it can be harvested either in the ground, not in the ground in a dam, but in the ground in the earth. But with harvesting is India. And Kenya would do a lot if it could borrow a lot of tips from India. And if I was asked, we don't need to send any of our elected leaders, elected officers, elected persons. I said I'll stop using the word leaders, because I'm not seeing a lot of leadership happening. If they could send the stormwater experts, the relevant stormwater, not experts or professionals, but employees, government employees, because sometimes actually they're not even professional, they're just the employees by the government, but in charge of stormwater, or else we'd not be having the stormwater challenges that we have if we really had experts, in my opinion. So if they could send those, including community workers, community officials who are in charge of even just general administration, because you don't need to have experts only going to learn about water harvesting and stormwater harvesting and retention of water and diversion of water channels and understanding of ground for purposes of controlling water. You need to have some lay people also who must be having some connection with government, so that in years to come, these are people who are going to be sources of information for the community when it comes to water harvesting methods. And like I say, India is the best example I can give, where they've mastered that, and it is through the hardships they've had over the years, but they've done it to such an excellent level. And the thing about India also is that they use inexpensive ways to do it. And that's why there's the famous, if you've never watched it, Google yourself and learn about, there's a project that had been done that was for communities competing about which village is going to be the best at, is it cleaning up the village and water retention and preventing deforestation, stuff like that. I'm going to look for that link and post it here. And that's why I was saying that people, you need to read a lot. And even when you're online, whether it's YouTube, whether it's on social media, there's a little bird on the guava tree outside, and I can't turn the camera now, plus I'm tending to the porridge. So I need to cover the porridge sufficiently so that it doesn't burn me with the bubbles. It has started bubbling. And then if you don't want the porridge to rise out of the cooking pot when you're making it, you put a wooden cooking stick in it, and it will not rise above the boiling point of the cooking stick, because sometimes it starts frothing and rising up like milk, frothing. So if you put a cooking stick, it won't rise above that. So I've put a cooking stick and I've covered the side that is facing me so that it doesn't overflow. So I need to get these guavas off this tree ASAP, because if they overripen, it's only the birds eating, and there's enough guavas for me and the birds to share. So I'm going to get into my boots. Oh, that place is so grassy. When there's long grass like that, I'm always afraid of that wiggly thing. I don't even want to mention its name. But for now, let me just take a video of this little bird that's sunning itself on the tree, and then I'll talk to you later. So I'm here and I can already see that. No wonder I was smelling them. There are some which are here. This absolutely big, absolutely ripe one. And it's right at the bottom of the tree, so no wonder I wasn't able to see it. So these are the ones I'm going to eat. So I've sat down and considered my options. I don't have money. The rains may or may not continue for long. The seed I planted was not the best quality seed, and I now have quality seed. And the planting has already been done. And I don't have money to call in somebody. The person I wanted to call in to work on credit, I can't get them. So I've decided what I'm going to do is that I'm going to get into the farm, do the planting myself, just add one seed per hole onto whatever had been added, and pray to heaven, for heaven's sake, that I'm going to get something out of it and I'm not going to have nests, and leave the rest to God. Yeah, I have to take the risk. I can't not do it. So I'll catch you when I'm halfway through, probably. I also have to work very fast because baby is asleep, and this is the tool that I'll be using. It's what do you call it, a slasher, which the tip got cut off because of continued use, so that I can just uplift the little soil that had been banked onto the hole for planting maize or for planting beans. I'll just do this very randomly. I've just completed, and I'm glad I decided to do it. Sometimes challenge yourself. The fears you have are greater than the challenge at hand. I had thought that I must pay someone to do that job, but I've done it while baby was asleep. I'm going to check whether he's woken up, and that is finished. And I'm very glad I added it, because I noticed that the person who planted before, some of the maize was not even covered. It was just left in the open, and I hope this is going to help. Now if we get one overnight rainy day, I'll be sorted, even if it just rains during the day. But mostly if we get an overnight rain, that is going to wet the ground sufficiently, because the Ruai sun is so hot. Like now it's dried the ground. I can see the beans are about to sprout. Some of the maize is beginning to root, but the sun has already began striking into the ground. And because it was very damp, by the time he was planting, he couldn't dig very deep. So I can see the maize is not very deep, and also what I've added is not very deep. So like I said, I'm leaving it all to God. I need to go in, have a shower, freshen up, and then take a rest. So people, let me boast to you. I've had one of the most refreshing baths that you could have in the sun. For those of you who have space in your homes, but you prefer to just bathe inside all the time, you better try this. There's nothing as refreshing as bathing in the sun. Do you know why people like going to the beach to swim? Because the water is warm, and then the sun is hitting on their back. That's what I had. I had kept the water in a basin to warm outside, and then I went and bathed in this water out in the warm sun. I have a section outside my bathroom, which if I hang up the towel, it can prevent people seeing me from, there's a side of the fence where I believe it has some small porous holes, and someone would have to be close to peep through and to see anything, but I never take any chances. But the other side is completely covered, and that's the side which now I bathe on, near where my outside external tap is. And that was, it actually reminded me of swimming in the beach. Yeah, on a warm sunny day. And I'd urge you to practice it. I keep on telling you that there's something so therapeutic about water, and more so if it is warm and you're bathing outside on a warm day. It's actually also therapeutic when I come in, even when it's rainy, and I bathe with cold water. It is therapeutic, because that time I've come in when I've sweated. It's normally I've had a brisk walk or something, and I've been sweaty from the journey or something. But for today, oh my goodness, I had come from planting, and so I was very sweaty, and baby's still asleep. And I thought, normally I don't keep my water outside warm, but now I do it for baby because he's young, and rather than use the gas, if I keep it outside for 2-3 hours on the can I call it a curb? No, before, in front of the pot there's a stone there's a Hi, it's evening, and I was unable to. Sorry, I was unable to vlog anymore earlier because I received some visitors, and we slept. Both of us took a nap in the afternoon. Okay, not both of us. Baby took a nap in the afternoon, and after I did the planting, I thought I was going to rest, but I got a visitor and I wasn't able to sleep much, and the visitor has gone almost around 8 p.m. So now is when I'm making supper. Oops. I'm making dinner now. I already had the vegetable, so all I'm making now is chapatis, and I'm making not very many chapatis. They're about 2, 4, 6, 8 chapatis. That should be sufficient for me and baby for tonight, breakfast, lunch, and probably going to tea time tomorrow, or dinner. Yeah, so it didn't rain today again. In a way I'm glad for that, because it has meant baby can play out a bit more. I can also play out a bit more, and also, of course, the best thing is that I was able to do the planting. I did the bigger section, so tomorrow I might do the smaller section. That's the driveway to the house. I'm just adding the maize only, and then I'm going to do a bit of peas also, because the peas are not so many, and I'll probably see if I can add the beans. I mean, why not? Since they're already there, I might just as well. Oops, I had put too much fire. With chapatis you have to be very careful. Oh, yeah, and then the pan had something before. Don't get stuck on me. Don't get stuck on me. Yeah, the pan I had heated some vegetables, some sukuma on it, and so chapati likes to be cooked on a clean surface. So that's a sort of a blunder, but yeah. Since I had oil on the pan and the skuma was quite oily, so I cleared that. Yeah, and I didn't mind if I'm having chapatis that have a bit of a smear of skuma on them, because that's a vegetable that I'm going to eat. So I've seen something very distressing in the evening news. It's not even distressing. It is so shocking that the person who was reading the news had a look of disgust on her face, because she must have been as horrified as I was, and as millions of people who are going to watch that clip are going to be. Baringo, what are you doing to our children? Who told you that children have to go to school at all means, even when it means endangering their lives and their lives? What is happening in that video? That is so... we thought we'd seen everything with the recent floods. I actually thought I had seen everything. To hear this rains in the recent with the floods, from what we saw that was happening around Nairobi. But this, I'm in shock. Somebody rushed to Baringo and tell those people to let the children stay home. It will not make them sick if they miss school. And it will not mean that they are not clever. In fact, some of them might be such geniuses that staying safe and missing school and feeling relaxed at home might be all the impetus they need to be best performers in school. But can Baringo please, all leaders in Baringo, can you please talk to the residents and tell them to stop that madness that they have? These people are crossing an overflowing river with children strapped on their backs. Some of them, water that is waist high and is gushing. Let me not say flowing, because you might just think it's a big stream.
This is a river that is at least 30 feet. Is it 30 feet? It could be 50 feet wide. I stopped watching. This is a news clip, but I stopped watching because I was so damn scared. And children are being carried on their back, and some children who must be probably young teens and slightly younger than teenage are walking by themselves across that river holding hands. You know the sheer stupidity even of the people who are making money to help these people to cross whatever it is that they're charging them, is that when a river is so big and so deep, it could be carrying anything. It might be carrying a log submerged under the water. It could be carrying a car. It could be carrying... I am in so much shock. Because another thing that people don't realize, and we keep on talking about mental health, is the trauma these children are going to have. In fact, the trauma that they are having already. Because please tell me, what are they learning in class, having crossed that river in the morning? They have the fear of death every minute. Not only when they're in class, and when they are going to school, after they've crossed the river, before they've crossed the river, when evening reaches or afternoon and they have to go back, they are constantly horrified. And these children must be so greatly traumatized not to talk about their parents. Their parents simply have no sense. Excuse me, but judge me if you want. Take me where you want. Those parents don't have sense. I can say it with total confidence and without any fear. You must be senseless to put your children through that. For what? What kind of need is there for education that you want? Let me tell you something. How extreme this is. You know dangerous way to school? This beats dangerous ways to school. And you've seen how dangerous are some of the routes that some of those children take. This beats every single session I've seen of dangerous kids, of dangerous routes to school. What is it called? Dangerous routes to school or whatever it is. Because sheer madness, absolute madness. And there is no... when you hear me saying that I do not want to say we have leaders, elected leaders, I'll just call them persons. It is because of things like this. It is because of stuff like this. How is it that the elected persons of that region are not aware that these children are being made to go to school, and these parents are having to find any means possible? I mean, how do you not know your region has a raging river that bursts its banks? I know that it has burst its banks, but it has obviously, very obviously overflowed over the, if that is a bridge. And by the way, I saw another bridge like that. Where is it? Was it in Makueni? Was it also in Emali? Who in the... You see, when I say that corruption brings immorality, this is the type of immorality I'm talking about. I am totally not shocked to learn that the professionals hired to take care of control of storm waters in Nairobi are theologians. Yeah. That it's coming to light that they have zero sense. I don't even know whether they know how to channel water out of their houses. About storm water drainage. at least me with my 2 cents, I'm always so afraid that I'm trying to work out to mobilize, okay, not to mobilize, but I'm trying to influence as many people as possible, to talk it, to tell it on the mountain all the time. We need to dig the channels and in the right places. Can you please dig the channels, but in the right, can we do something? Can we do Harambe? Can we do something? I'm trying to do something. These are people. And this explains so much. This explains so much. Remember, I told you in one of the earlier videos when I said Kenya floods. This is the same thing I was talking about. You know, you're employed on the basis of who you know and where you know them from and how close you are to them. And you're given this hefty position. And you have these minions running around under you at your beck and call. And you can just rubbish their ideas, yet they're the true professionals. Because you're the holder of the title. And so, for a person in high office to go and be grilled by parliamentarians, you know, and you're just stuttering and stammering because you hardly want to mention that the persons, not one, two of the people in key positions in water management, not just water management, but stormwater management, have degrees in theology. And no, it's not to say that people with the degrees in theology do not have capability of managing stormwaters. Oh, goodness. But it is a fact that unless there are people who are committed to the job they were given and they've made effort to come out and learn how that should be done, and they've been seen to be at the forefront of talking with the experts who deal with that, and they've been seen out and about trying to ensure that they get on the ground and learn in good time in the dry season how stormwater flows go, which are the high places, which are the low places, which are places where waters can be captured, which are the places where channels can be dug, where should channels be widened. Yeah, there's no problem. Anybody can become an expert on anything if they put effort in it. But I was just thinking, hey, here we are. We now have Baringo. And if you know the ridiculous budgets that are passed for disaster management, you'll understand why some of these things are let to go by. Yeah, I was talking about the bridges that I've seen. They're not bridges. You go, you find a river, and then you put an embankment. An embankment in the middle of the river that is raised, and then you call it a bridge. A concrete embankment, and you put it up really tight, really, it's really well done, so that water absolutely cannot bypass. And so the water has only one way to go. When it gets there and it's in excess, it goes over. So you tell me what logic that is. And you hear the budgets that have been passed for some of these. I'll just call them embankments, because can I call them bridges? The definition of a bridge, that doesn't, in no way, in my common sense, does that befit to be called a bridge. It is not a bridge. And I don't know, somebody educate me. Does it have what you call the holes at the lower level for water to pass through? Because I can bet you if it does, they are probably this small. And what's the logical thing? What would be the logical thing? It is to make sure that every bridge that is in a water, in a river, that bursts its banks or that overflows in the rain, even if it's not in the rainy season, even through flash floods of water, of rain happening in higher grounds, further afield, the standard, because I expect as a country We should have standards for some things. It should be that the standard of every such bridge is that it should extend at least, at the very minimum, tip to tip, after where the river stops. It should be able to extend a minimum of 20 what's the length of this house? Yeah, 40 feet off of where the river stops. The river is here. From here where the river ends, 40 feet. From here where the river ends, 40 feet. And then upwards, meaning it should have a slow, what do you call it? A slow, whether it's curved or whether it's straight, whichever way they do it. But above, they should be able to measure the highest point that the river can go in full flood, according to history. And this is where I said that you must involve the local population when you're doing stormwater drainage planning. And when you're doing, what is it called? Arresting the situation. Whatever it is, if you're doing anything with regional planning of stormwater drainage and flooding and everything, involve the local population, because they'll be able to tell you at its highest in that region, that river, how high has it gone. And you take that measurement of the highest that it has ever been, and you go a minimum of 4 meters high. 4 meters is in feet. What does that come to? 2, 3, 4. Yeah, you go 4 meters above that. That's the only guarantee that we will have, because now it will just have to be a total shift in weather patterns or something, or a total dam breakage somewhere for that water level to ever rise higher than that. And it will also mean that even the lay of the ground around that place, it can't allow for the water to go. And it doesn't even have to be 4 meters, but 4 meters is a relatively good estimate, so that if there's any debris that is big, bulky, that is being carried by the waters, this width far apart should allow for the debris, no matter how big it is, to be carried, not to get stuck under the bridge itself to cause any damage even to the bridge. And then it should also be capable of holding people. In the worst case scenario, if the floods do extend to all the low-lying areas around where the people live, then that bridge should be sufficient to hold the people as a holding point. I need to pick something from here. Where I've put the phone is where I normally put my salt shaker holder and, sorry, my salt container and oil containers also. Yeah, so when it's that high, it will always allow for people to know that if at all there's any refuge that they can take in case of any further emergency, that is the spot. It's also going to mean that if the worst case scenario was to happen, as I've said, that will be the place where, if it's choppers, they can land. Because if it's, I mean, we are not here, we are not talking about any small bridge, and I'm not assuming that it will be made of wood. It's a concrete bridge. So if it is at that level and it is at that safe, you can know that in the worst case scenario, when you tell people to go to higher ground and the higher ground is also underwater, that will be the one place where the higher ground will never be underwater, and then you can do your rescue from there. But what we saw in Baringo, is so scary, is so frightening that no. There needs to be more done to educate the people. And this is what I'm saying, that the government also needs to go do. Why do you have elected persons? Wacha nikupatie chapati. Yeah, ajaiba. Itakufanya umwe na tumbo. Why do you have elected persons if they are not able to correct that? Hiyo chakula. Kuja ukae hapa nikupe. Kuja. Kaa hapo kule hiyo. And this is why I was saying that you need people with public announce systems going around and telling people. In a case like this in Baringo, even if there are people who can't get there of higher authority to tell the people, announce it to the schools by mobile phone. Tell them to tell the residents that do not put your children in excessive danger just so that they can get to school. It's not exam time. And even if it's exam time, so what? Would we rather make amendments or make every necessary preparation, plan whatsoever, to ensure that children who miss the exams on certain days because of the floods have, what do you call them? Second option test papers that they can sit. Or just have them do it, even if they'll have got answers from. But keep our children safe. I saw the Minister of Education at a function, and this was this was minutes after we had received the clip from Baringo. He's not even aware. He didn't even mention it. The left hand doesn't know what the right hand is doing. Or to them, it's not a big fuss. It's not something to fuss about. But it has worried not only me, but I know every single Kenyan who has, even national or wherever they are, even people living in this country, even residents. Everybody who has watched that clip have been left shaken to the root. And we need a change to happen. Please, we need somebody to go and talk to those people of Baringo and tell them they can just keep the children home. They can keep the children home. Let the children stay at home. Stay safe with the parents. Missing school is not going to harm them in such a bad way that it's worth it for them to risk their lives to go to school. And to those poor residents who think that their children might be reprimanded by the schools because of missing, I don't know what to say, but that comes back again to the systems that we have. Our system must protect the children. So I'm hoping that by tomorrow we are going to hear that something has been done about Baringo. People have been warned against that and have been refused to allow any more, to allow their children anymore to cross that river in the name of they are going to school. Even they themselves, whatever it is that they can do without, they should. Even the person who was helping them to cross, he said it's because he needs money that he's helping the parents and the children. Look at the level of ignorance. Even he himself doesn't know the amount of danger he's putting himself in. Because throughout I kept thinking, what if a log comes through that water? And even right now we are being told crocodile, snakes, stuff have gotten into the flood waters. What happens if he's carrying your We've buried men enough. We do not need to have more families suffering. Please, please, please. Whoever is in touch with the people in Baringo, whoever is in touch with the elected persons in Baringo, please give them the message from all of us Kenyans. We need the people of Baringo safe. We need those children. First and foremost, we need them safe. The teachers in those schools, please, can you exercise some wisdom? Can you have some level of sanity in yourselves? Yes, we need children educated, but not at any cost. And this time, it is at risk of losing their lives. So I'm praying, as are so many Kenyans who watched that we are going to hear different. that we are going to hear that that madness has been stopped with immediate effect. That in Baringo, children have been, it has been said that, in fact, if it is possible, ask for more teachers, or the teachers who are available, have them make a plan, and they can be taken by chopper. Our government has the money. Who says it doesn't have money? It has money. Have them taken by boat, or that route they were saying that costs 100 shillings. Let the teachers take the route of 100 shillings, and let them teach the children in different days. Monday and Tuesday, teach this region. Wednesday and Thursday, teach that region. Friday, and you can even include Saturday because of the rain season. If there are no SD, I mean people who will be compromised because of their religious beliefs or practices or norms. Do anything possible. That's what anything possible means. Go beyond the call of duty and keep our children safe. And all those vulnerable parents, because most of the people I saw there were mothers, young mothers. No. We do not want to hear of any more fatalities in this country, and we especially do not want to hear of fatalities that could have been avoided. Like I said, we have laid enough to rest. We don't need to do that anymore. Whether it is in Baringo, whether it is in Kilgoris, whether it is in Machakos, whether it's in whatever part of Kenya within the jurisdiction of the boundaries of this country, we do not want to hear. So you can, my video, Kenya Floods, talks about this, expounds on this very much. And my following videos also do talk about this. Do talk about this and the need for us to exercise caution, including the people who are taking the videos, of course, because there are those who are not having enough caution to care about the risk they are putting themselves in. So it is my sincere hope that this call, because I'm sure I'm just one of very many voices that are raising this concern. I'm hoping that it's going to be taken with all the seriousness it deserves, and that we'll keep on waking to hearing that the floods are still on, but people are safe. No fatalities are being reported in any part of the country because people are taking caution. Let us instead hear stories of how people had to undergo so much to ensure that others were safe. If we are one another's keepers as Kenyans, the right thing that we should do is not just be concerned about the safety of others, but to take action in whichever way, whether it is speaking about it, whether it's taking direct action, whether it's being at the point of need, of helping one another and lifting one another out of a problem.